Welcome to part 3. In part 3, we're going to make our chatbot more robust and we're going to implement R.A.G in order to enhance the user answers that we get back from the chatbot. Let's jump right into it. Welcome back to a third part of creating a chatbot using OpenAI Completion API. So in this third section, I decided to create a third one just to show you a really cool technique that you can use in order to enhance your chatbots that you will create. So we're going to switch up our application logic just a tiny bit, and we're going to improve the chatbot responses by using a technique called R.A.G. So in here, we can see that the user is still going to send a message to our Next.js application. In our backend, we're going to add a little bit of logic with a new JSON file that we're going to use that is going to be filled with frequent asked questions and or FAQs that are going to have the question and the answer, and we're going to check that knowledge base or that file or database of whatever information we have, whatever we're using, and we're going to check if we already know the answer to the questions the user is asking. If we have the answer inside of that JSON file, all we need to do is just send back the response, right? And we're just going to use plain JavaScript to do that. Now, if we don't know the answer to the question, what we're going to do is that we're going to send the user message or the question to OpenAI, but we're also going to send the JSON file or whatever data we have, that new knowledge base, together to OpenAI so it can enhance our response. So you're going to see a big difference when the response comes back, or the answer to the question comes back from OpenAI, because we're going to enhance it using the data that we have in the JSON file. You can use any type of data. It can be in a database, anywhere, pretty much whatever you store in that information. We're just going to use a JSON file just to make this easier. And we're going to send back the response, of course, to the user so they can see it in the front end. Now, before we jump into the code, I want to show you a couple of slides about what is R.A.G and what are the benefits of using R.A.G. If you already know what that is and the benefits, you can skip over this and jump right into the code. So let me bring over some slides so we can see it, and then we'll move into adding this new logic to the application. So really quick, it's just a couple of slides, and we're going to see here what R.A.G is, or retrieval augmented generation. So the definition of R.A.G is a hybrid technique that combines retrieval-based and generation-based models. The purpose is to enhance the quality and accuracy of generated content by incorporating relevant information from external data sources like the JSON file we're going to use. So how does it work in simple terms? So this is going to have two phases. So phase one is the retrieval phase. The model retrieves relevant documents or data from some large amount database or corpus of data. Then is going to utilize a search algorithm to find the best matches. So it's going to look through the data. It's going to find the information that corresponds to whatever the user is asking, or for whatever task we need to solve. The second phase is the generation phase. So the retrieved information is fed into the generative model, or the GPT-4 model that we're using, and then the model generates content using both the input query, or the question the user is asking, and the retrieved data, or the JSON file. So that's what we're going to do. And what are the benefits of using R.A.G? So we're going to have improved accuracy. It's going to combine the strength of retrieval and generation to create a better response. Contextual relevance is going to incorporate up-to-date and specific information that we're going to give OpenAI or the GPT-4 model. Versatility, it can be used in various applications like chatbot, question answering systems, and content creation. So RAG could be used in many different types of applications, and we're using it on our chatbot this time. So different applications of RAG, it could be customer support, enhances the chatbot responses with accurate information. Content generation, produces high quality articles, summaries, and reports. Educational tools, provides detailed answers and explanations. So it could be used for many different types of application. So in here, we're working with chatbots. So applying RAG to chatbots. In here, we're going to have enhanced responses when we use RAG. So contextual understanding, and the chatbot can retrieve relevant documents to provide more accurate and context-aware responses. So our chatbot is going to have a list of questions and answers, and is going to be able to look in there. That's some information we're providing, and is going to use that data in order to generate a nice response to our users. And then dynamic information keeps responses up to date by retrieving the latest information. So we can keep updating our files or our database with new information in order for the chatbot to use that up-to-date information as well. So again, some of the use cases for our chatbots in specific could be for customer support. You can answer customer queries for precise and relevant information. Technical assistant provides detailed troubleshooting steps or technical support. So if you have the proper steps in a file that you need to tell the user to follow, you can have all the details that are custom to the company that you're creating the chatbot for, and then it's going to use those steps and generates a nice response so the user can follow. Then information retrieval, so it retrieves specific information from a large database or knowledge base. So our knowledge base is going to be the JSON file in this case, but we could have connected a database as well. So here's a quick example of in a chatbot. So we're going to get the user query. So for example, the user can ask, how do I reset my password? Then the retrieval model is going to search the company's knowledge base or JSON file for articles related to password reset. So it's going to look into our JSON file. It's going to try to find something that relates to how to reset the password. So then when it finds something, it's going to generate a step-by-step guide using the retrieve documents. Pretty cool. So we're going to use, again, OpenAI Chat GPT-4, which we can use in order to continue working with our chatbot. But there are other ones. Facebook, Microsoft have their own retrieval models, and that's it for the slides. I just went really quick to this just in case you already know most of the stuff, but I also will leave a link to more documentation in the video so you can go and read a little bit more. So let's jump right into the code, and let's use RAG in order to enhance our chatbot to answer more accurate to the user questions. All right, so it's time to jump into the code, and let's make sure we got our server running, and we're continuing from the last video. So I got my server running. This is the last interaction we have with the chatbot. If I refresh here, just to make sure everything is ready to go, and that's probably going to take a quick second, but everything should be fine. I'm going to hide the terminal here so we can jump right into the first step. So the first thing we're going to need, we are going to have the data. So you can find a link to the file on the video description. What I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new folder on the root directory. I'm going to call it data. And in here, we can call it, let's right click, create a new file. Let's call it FAQs.json. And inside of there, we're going to copy the JSON data. So I'm going to copy that from the JSON file. I'm going to paste it in here. And make sure to look into the video description so you can find the link to the GitHub repo so you can get the data from there. So let me save the file. We have a JSON object here, which we have a array called FAQs, and each question is inside of an object with a question and a answer property. So here we have how do I reset my password, and we have some instructions in here, and these instructions could be different depending on the different application that you might have. So this is just some frequent asked questions from some website, some application that you are going to be using in order to give your chatbot more knowledge on how to solve any problems or anything that you need to let the chatbot know how to do. So we're going to close the file for now, and we're going to go to our backend. So let's go to actions and let's go to the index file here. And right now this looks pretty small, so we're also going to continue working in here so we can wrap everything inside of a try catch and do all of that in this video. So let's go, and first step we need to do is to read the JSON file. So at the top, because we are in our backend, we can import. Let's import some Node.js modules. So let's import the file system from FS. So these are built-in Node.js modules. We don't need to install anything. Everything is available here. We can also import path from the global path module from Node.js. Then let's go and read the file. So we can go here and let's have a comment. Let's say reads the JSON file or the FAQs JSON file. So here let's get the path first for the file. So let's say const file path equals path. So we're using the path module, and we're going to use the resolve method, and here we're going to pass in the path to the file where this file is located, so inside of the data file. So we're going to use the process dot current working directory to get the current working directory, so the location of this project folder inside of your computer file system. And then we're going to use quotes to indicate, to concatenate the name data, which is the name of the folder, and then the file name will be FAQs.json. All right, so that should be the full path. It doesn't matter. This first is going to look at the location of the main folder, and then it's going to concatenate the rest. So next we're going to, let's say we're going to actually read the file. So we're going to say const, these are going to be our FAQs. So we're going to set that equals to, we need to use the fs module dot read file sync, so we can read the file. So we need to pass a file path to this. So we're going to pass the file path variable here, file path, and then we need to pass the encoding. So encoding is UTF-8, And remember, this is going to read our file. So it's going to read this file here. And we want to right away just grab the array. So we can do in here, we can have, actually we can parse this to JSON. So we can wrap this into parentheses, parse this into JSON. I mean, from, let's use the JSON that parse. So we can parse a JSON file into a JavaScript object. And then there we can do the dot FAQs. So we can access the array already in a JavaScript array. So cool. So in here, that should be fine. We can actually just have a console log of the FAQs here. Excuse me. All right, so we read in the file and we got our FAQs in here, which is the array. Now let's see if everything is going well in the backend. All right, no error so far. What else are we gonna do here? So that was the step of reading the file. And now that we have that data there, we're going to go into our action here. And in here, let's go and let's wrap everything into a try catch. So I'm gonna grab everything here. I'm gonna cut it. Type try catch. Console log the error for now. And put the code back inside of here. Refactor this or reformat the document so everything looks nice. So in here, what we need to do, we're gonna look to see if the question, whatever the user is asking, we're gonna see if it's already inside of this FAQs questions in here. So right after we console log the chat message or chat messages, in here we're going to, let's call it const FAQs answer, maybe. Yeah, because we're gonna get the answer if we actually have the question already in the file. So here we're gonna look into the FAQs array. So FAQs dot find, and we're going to grab each FAQ object which has the question and the answer. And in here we're going to check if in the, remember when we get all the messages and the message of the user, the question they asking is at the end of the array. So we can do chat messages that add -1, so we can get the last element in the array, and then we can check if it's true, and then we can do, or if it's not known, we can, and then read the content of the message. And let's make it a lowercase, so that to lowercase. So we're gonna check if the chat messages, the last message in the chat messages includes, so we're gonna do that includes we're gonna grab the FAQ dot answer dot to lowercase in here, so we could compare the FAQ answer to the, no, that's not the answer. We need to check the question. So let's change this from answer to question. So we're going to check the questions the user is asking with the question that we have in the FAQs to see if it matches one of these questions here. So we're going to check this, then we're going to check this, and we're going to go all the way to the end of the list or the array, and we're going to compare that in here. Right now, this is TypeScript telling us that we don't have a type for this. So let's create a quick type. Let's just put it right around the top here. And let's just have FAQ type. And then let's do a type of FAQ. And each FAQ is going to have a question that is a string and a answer that is also a string. And we can say that this, let's see where we can use our FAQ type here. So we read the data here. So this will be, we're grabbing the array here. So we can say that FAQs here is an array of FAQs. So we're going to do FAQ array. So now it knows the type is an array of objects. We has a question and an answer. So now that goes away and we have the answer here. So in here we are checking if the user question is in the FAQ array. Cool. So that's everything we need to do here. So if we do have it, so we can have a check here. We can say if we have the FAQ answer, so if this is true, we are going to remember this includes is going to return 0 is assumed. So if position is undefined is 0. So if this is a truth value, what we're going to do is that we're going to, let's console log the FAQ here anyways, FAQ answer. And if we do have the answer to the question here, we're just going to return a object which is going to resemble, we're going to have to switch up the front end a little bit because now we're just going to return the actual answer object here. So in here we're going to say row is going to be assistant, and the content is going to be the FAQ answer, that answer. Remember, this is the object that is going to be returned. So if that's true, we return the object with the row and the content set to FAQ answer that answer. So we're going to get back this answer or this answer, whatever answer we are able to match to those questions. Cool. So in here, that's fine. What else we got to do in here? So now if we pass this here, so if we don't return from here, we are going to be reaching out to OpenAI. So we're going to just have a console log here that says reaching out to OpenAI API, just so we can see that in the console. So in here, if we need to reach out, what we're going to do, so remember R.A.G is going to, we're going to supply some new base knowledge to the chatbot. So we need to give the chatbot all the information we have, so it can try to look into the data, search for something that it can use in order to provide an answer to the user. to the questions that they have. So in here, we're going to switch this up a bit. So this is the chat to be sent to OpenAI. Just to have some comments in here. So we're going to keep the row as system, and in here we're going to keep it as you are a helpful assistant. And in between the first object and the chat messages that we have, we're going to go right in the middle, and we're going to map over the FAQ array, and we're going to let's transform the data to a format that the chatbot can understand. So let's do a spread operator here, and let's spread the FAQs array, that map. So map is going to return a new array, and we're just going to spread all those elements in there. Let's put a comma here. So inside of map, we are going to grab each FAQ object and FAQ here. And what we're going to do here, we're going to let's return, so parentheses object here, so we can return an object, this object here. We're just going to have a row that is going to say system. So we need to set it to system, so it knows that this is for the system to use in order to look and use as data that was provided for its knowledge. And then we're going to set content to a template string here, and we're going to say Q for question, and we're going to say $ curly brackets here, and we're going to pass in the FAQ question. Then we're going to have a new line, so \n, and we're going to have the A for answer, and we're going to have $ curly brackets here to pass the FAQ that answer in here. So now we are mapping over the FAQs. We're returning a new object for each one of the questions, and we're going to indicate that this information is for the system to use, and we're going to have this format of a question and then the answer right on that, so we can use that information. So we're spreading that in there so we can send one single array with all the information that it is going to need. And then what we need to do, we can go back and check. Let's make sure we have a completion. So let's say if, to make this a little bit more robust, we're going to check if there's no completion, right? So if we, no, then it needs to be a little bit under. So right after we actually submit the request. So completion is what we get back, right? So we're going to check if there's no completion. If something went wrong, we are going to, let's just throw an error here. So let's say throw a new error, and for the error we can just say invalid response from OpenAI API. So we know something went wrong with the OpenAI requests. Cool, so that would throw an error. It will go here, and we can also return we'll change something here too, not just to console log it, just so we can have some response for the UI to show as well. So in here we get, this is the response or the results, whatever you want. we check in here, and then right after that we are going to, let's see, so here if we pass through that check, if we do have a completion, we are going to, let's see, we have a console log for the completion. We can keep this here if we want. And then here, let's see. So in here, we have console log completion that choices 0. So in here, we are actually just sending we're returning here the whole completion that we got back instead of just a message. So just to keep it consistent, that we're sending the object here with the row and the answer, and we can do the same here, so we don't have to have different logic in the front here, just like we have in the chatbot. We're expecting the whole entire response, and then we check in. If we have a response, we can do this check in the backend. So the backend will always respond consistently with an object with the answer or any errors. So what we're gonna do here, let's go right under the if statement here, and here we're going to have the bot message, bot or assistant message. So here let's just do const, let's just do assistant message equals to completion dot choices square brackets 0 dot message, right, whoops, square brackets dot message. And if that is true or it's not null, we're going to access the content. So here we're going to grab just the content, so just the message, just like we were doing in the front end. In here we're casting that as a string, yeah, but we're grabbing it there, so we're just doing that check in the back end now, so we can just respond back with a error. So let's check, let's have a check here too. So let's say if there's no assistant message, we are going to throw a new error, and this time we can say no message from, let's just say OpenAI API. Cool. So if we pass that check, we are going to return, let's return here a object with the row. This one is the assistant, so we're sending this message from the assistant, so the row is assistant. And in the content is going to be in the assistant, where is in the variable assistant message in here. Cool. And let's make sure, let's see, completion, we can keep this console log up here somewhere if we want. So we could put it in here before the return, that's fine. If we wanted to see that content or that message, that content, if we wanted to see the console log, we can keep it there. And we can get rid of this return now, because now we're no longer returning the whole entire completion object. We're just returning the actual message that is consistent to the same one we're sending in here if we have in the answer to the questions from the JSON file. And this is also going to save us some, requests, because if we do already have the answer, we're returning here. So we don't need to make the call to the API. So we're saving all those extra calls to the API also by doing this. So let's get rid of this return, and let's cast this object as a message. So we know the type. Let's also do it here as a message. And we already had that imported from previously up here. And what else we gotta do? So this is fine. So I think this is everything we need to do for checking if we already know the answer here, right? If we look back in here, we're checking if we have the answer, right, on the JSON file, we're just gonna return the answer there. If we don't know the answer, we're gonna make the call to the API. So this is making the call to the API. And the other thing that could happen is that, we're throwing some errors here. So if we just console log it, we're not doing much. That's just for debugging. We're not doing much in the front end. So what we can do is just send in here. We can keep the console log, but we can return here a object that is going to have the row to set to assistant, and we're going to have the content set to a message that can say, let's just do double quotes, so I can say, I'm sorry, something went wrong. We can say, please try again, or please try again later, something like that, or please try again, doesn't matter, whatever makes sense. So cool, that's everything. So now our backend code is more robust. We're implementing the R.A.G technique inside of our application, so that way we're saving API calls, and we're giving the chatbot a new base knowledge, so it knows how to handle more appropriately the questions and answers from this application, right? So that's everything we're doing here. So cool, we're done in the back end. Let's go now to the front end, because in the front end, when we get the response here, we no longer have the whole response object or the completion object. We're just gonna have the response. So either this or this, or the error here. We can also say as message in here. We can format it, and it looks a little bit better. So now in here, what we need to do, let's go and change a little bit in the front end. So here we call in the API here. So when we call the API, what we're gonna get back is going to be the message, right? We can keep it a response, REST, whatever we call, whatever we want here. So let's see, we can console log it. We don't need to do this check here. So let's delete, actually let's just delete, we're setting the user. Okay, let's move this up, because we still need to clear up the state here, and we still need to set the messages in here. So previous messages, and then we're going to spread it into a new array, and we're going to be adding instead of a system message, which is what we were creating here, let's move this up here too. Now we can get rid of the if statement. So all the way down to the yellow here. So I'm get rid of all of this. And we're clearing up the state for the user message, and then the response is just the message. So in here we can just call it message, or you can keep it as response, new message, whatever. No, we already have new message. I'm gonna keep it a response. You can call it whatever you want, but this is the what we need to pass to the set messages now, because we're already doing all of that in the backend. So remember now, rest is gonna be either this message, or this message, or the error message. Cool. So I think that's everything we need to do here. And let's see. Let's give it a try. Let's open up the chatbot here. And let's begin with a question that is going to be able to find in the JSON data. So I'm gonna grab, how do I reset my password? Copy that and put it into the chatbot and hit send. And you can see how fast that was, right? Because this is just going to, it's not making any API call. So if we go back to the action here, we got the response from this logic here. So we were able to look and find the question and return it right away. And we can see that it says the same thing we have in here. To reset your password, go to the login page, and whatever instructions we put here, that's what the user is gonna get. Cool. So that's working. So now if we type something else that is not in there, is not able to match it to any of these questions, and this needs to be, you know, the same string, because we're just comparing the strings in here, right? But let's say we wanted to, let's grab, how do I apply my discount code, right? If I ask that question now, right, it's going to be able to find it again. Let's just give it another test. User is asking for the discount code. Perfect. Let's give it a quick refresh. Open it up again. And now let's try to ask the same question in a different way. So let's say, can I use my discount code with this order? And we're gonna send the question, this counts. So it's basically similar to this, but it's not the same strings, not the same question. So we're gonna send it, and now it's taking a little bit of time, and we got a response back from the API, from the OpenAI APIs. And if we look into the console logs, we can see that we have the console log that we put in there says reaching out to OpenAI, and then we got the completion message here. And if we look at this response, it says, yes, you can use your discount code with your order as long as it hasn't expired and it meets any specific terms and conditions associated with the code, right? So it got a nicer response, and then it says to apply it, enter the code. So now it's telling the steps here. So to apply it, enter the code, blah, 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 all the way down to order total. And to apply the code, discount code, apply. If you don't have any, please enter discount code, customer support. So it used this knowledge that it has on the discount code in order to generate a nice response to the user. So now this was very useful, because now the user, this is specific to this application, to either a e-commerce application or maybe a technical application, and it's going to make the chatbot a lot better. So cool. So basically this is everything I wanted to do just to make our chatbot much more smarter and able to help out even better. And this technique, you can use it with any future chatbots that you create later. And there's also more techniques that you can use or tactics that you can use in order to improve your chatbot. So back into the documentation on the chat completions, if you open up in here, if you open this link, I can leave it in the description as well. There's different tactics that you can use, so read through this too if you want to make your chatbot. Again, you can work on the persona and the different tactics that you can use in order to improve and customize your chatbots. So that's it for this video. I hope you liked the information, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.